Hi guys, so today's video is going to be me looking back at all of the books that I read this last quarter and ranking them. But I'm going to do this with a little bit of a twist. So before the quarter started, I predicted how I would feel about all these books. I predicted how I would rank them, and I'm going to compare where I ranked them with my predictions versus where I ended up actually ranking them. Originally, I had 15 books on the list, but I ended up having 14 overall because one of the books, I think the release date got pushed back. So I just went ahead and left it at 14. And then also, I ended up swapping out a lot of the books. I am a mood reader, so I feel like I'm both a mood reader and I'm somebody who loves to be orderly and plan ahead, and I just have this constant battle within myself when it comes to that. Also, if you're new here, I have become my dad's caretaker over the last few months and will continue to be his caretaker, and sometimes life just gets a little bit hectic, and some of the books I was hoping to get to, I just really wasn't in the mood for those books. I swapped them out a lot of times for shorter books or maybe fluffier books or books that I just felt like I was going to have a better time with. At the end, I will include those new books in my overall ranking, but first I'm going to compare the books that I had, the 6 books that remained from my original TBR for spring. I'm going to compare where I ranked them versus where I predicted I would rank them. So I'm going to look at the predictions first, and then we'll get into the actual ranking. And I think it's fun when talking about the actual ranking to kind of start in the middle and then work my way out so that it's not just bottom to top or top to bottom. Also, for your enjoyment, you get to see what I said about the books in my predictions. I'll split that into this video so you'll kind of get past and present, and that way you can see what I said before and we can see how accurate I was or how very, very off I was. So the 6 remaining books were Queen of Blood is where I thought I would have my number 1 spot, Fireborn would be the 2nd, Spin the Dawn 3rd, King of Scars 4th, Rage of Dragons 5th, and Forest of Souls 6th. Going into where I actually ranked them though, I'm going to start, like I said, kind of sort of in the middle with Forest of Souls. This is a story, this is one of the ones that's not out yet, but this girl, she discovers that she has the ability, I guess, to bring people back to life. It's kind of like I didn't know I could do this, but she brings back one of her friends, and it's supposed to be this really strong sisterly type friendship, which I like really good friendships and stories. It could be really cool. She's been training to be, I think, the royal assassin or royal spy, something like that. So again, a lot of checks, just like Fireborn. Of the original 6, this ended up being in the number 4 spot. My feelings toward the book, I felt so nothing. I didn't feel frustration. I didn't feel anger. I didn't fall head over heels. I didn't really have feelings when I read this book. It's to the point where I almost thought about rereading the book right after I got done with it, because I got done with it and then I was like, okay. Going up from there though to the number 3 spot of the original 6, we have Spin the Dawn. I think I'm gonna have to put Spin the Dawn at 10. It sounds fun. It sounds kind of bizarre, but also very whimsical and a really good time. And sometimes those books end up ranking really high for me because it's just a nice, it's kind of sort of why a lot of us read, to just have a good time, to feel good, to escape stuff. So if it does that, I feel like it could rank extremely high. But because I don't know how much substance this book is going to have, I'm going to go ahead and put this one in the 10s. I'm going to put it in the 6th spot. I feel like it has potential. I don't know. It seems like it's going to be a good time. I didn't absolutely love it, but I enjoyed it. It was more of a love story than I was expecting. I thought it would be a little bit different than that, but it did kind of turn into a traveling love story. I liked it enough to pick up the sequel, which is one of the ones I inserted, and then we'll talk about that one a little later. Because we're working with a limited number here with just 6, you're going to see my feelings completely transform from book to book, because the next one that came at the number 5 spot was King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. I can't figure out where King of Scars is going to go. This is kind of sort of a spin-off story in the Grishaverse. It has a character from the original Grisha trilogy / Six of Crows Crooked Kingdom duology. I think I'm going to put it kind of high, but not anything too crazy. I think I'm going to put this one at 7. I was pumped to be with these characters. And I loved the first half. And then as soon as the first half ended, it ended in this kind of dun 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 way. And I was like, uh-oh. It was just that I really didn't like the direction the plot went. That happens. Doesn't mean the book is trash or anything. It just means dumb ol' me was like, I wanted this book to go this way, and it went that other way. Going up into the number 2 spot would be Queen of Blood. Filling in the top spot, I'm gonna go ahead and put Queen of Blood. This is the first book in a trilogy that I've heard fantastic things about. The setting sounds pretty cool too. It's a forest setting, and I think there's a lot of war stuff going on in it, but it sounds like the magic and everything is pretty unique. More, I would say, plot-driven than I usually like, but I did end up enjoying it quite a bit. And the thing that I think really makes this book stand out to me is the setting. The setting is awesome. If you are looking for a fantasy book with a cool setting, especially a creepy forest setting, this one is for you. Characters kind of live in this forest and they have to deal with these forest spirits who kind of make the forest function, but at the same time, these spirits really want to kill them. And when you say spirits, it's not like ghosts. It's weird, strange hybrid people, animals, and then plant things. But the spirits, they really want to slaughter humans. The last 2 would be Rage of Dragons and Fireborn. I'm gonna try to figure out where to put Rage of Dragons. The cons that I've heard about this book sound like all the kinds of things I don't like. For example, the main character apparently has just rage mode. Rage of Dragons. It's almost, maybe it's supposed to be that way, I don't know. But I've heard that this character, he pretty much just jeopardizes missions that involve a lot of other people that have been planned out because he gets angry. And I'm so afraid that if I agree with that statement, I'm gonna hate the book because well, not the book itself, but I'm gonna hate the character, and then as a result, my enjoyment will go down. However, I've also heard that this book is fantastic because I'm so on the fence on whether or not I'm gonna like it. I feel like I gotta either put it in the 7 spot or the 9 spot. I think I'm gonna put it in the 9 spot. So Rage of Dragons, I think it's pretty obvious, seeing as I have Fireborn displayed and I don't even own Rage of Dragons anymore. I really did not care for that book. I say all the time that I'm an extremely character-driven reader, and if I think your main character is really obnoxious, I'm probably gonna hate the book. I hate them so much, I don't even love to hate them. I just hate them. He put other people's lives at risk constantly. He never thought things through. I felt like he was the kind of main character where the cheesy villain that tells you his master plan while he twirls his mustache, he was that level of stupid, except for he's the main character. And then at number 1 would be Fireborn. I'm gonna for now put Fireborn in 4. There are dragons in this. I think it's kind of historical fantasy, but also very politically driven, and all of those things are big checks for me. This book is an absolute new favorite, phenomenal, my favorite thing I read this last quarter. I'm going to run through now what the rankings were once I inserted the other new books into this. So reading it off, we still have Fireborn at number 1. We have, okay, I need to pause. I was about to read them off, but I think this is gonna surprise a lot of people and you guys are gonna be like, I don't trust your opinions at all now, because I know how a lot of people feel about this series. But I don't even care. I'm gonna say it without any shame. I put the 3rd Grisha book in the number 2 spot. It was a reread for me. I liked the books even more on rereading them. I liked them well enough the first time, but rereading them, you know what? I think that's a great younger end of fantasy read. If somebody is just getting into fantasy, if somebody is a younger reader who wants to get into this genre, that's, I think, a fantastic starting point. Anyway, I know I probably lost some of you, but yeah. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the Grisha trilogy. Man, I just have a feeling so many of you are going to be like, what? I used to align with her taste so much and I don't know what's going on here, because I know that same thing about the 3rd Grisha book is probably going to apply to some of the rest of these. So in the 3rd spot, I have Unravel the Dusk, which is the sequel to Spin the Dawn. It was a little different from what I normally like, but I don't know, I guess I was just in the mood to want two characters to be together against all odds. In the number 4 spot would be Heart of Flames. This was the sequel to Crown of Feathers by Nikki Palpretto. This is a story following a rebellious group of Phoenix riders, and I did quite enjoy the second one. It was a beefy girl, and I was okay with it because I liked everything that was going down. I liked how this rebel group was trying to deal with a person who is playing them and the enemy against each other, and I liked that villainous character, and I liked that villainous character's relationship with the main character. There was just a lot of things I liked, and I like the Phoenixes. They're super, super cute. In the number 5 spot, we have The Downstairs Girl. This is a story about a girl who is Chinese American who is growing up in the South in the 1890s, I believe. I could have that number totally wrong, but obviously there was a lot of stuff going on in that time period having to do with race, as there is in most time periods. And this particular character, she's kind of having to deal with a lot of issues, not only with that, but also with the way that women are treated. And so she's kind of finding her voice within the society that won't let her have a voice. I just thought that the main character was lovely. She was so clever. She was so fun. A little bit lighter, maybe, than what would have made it up higher for me. If it was maybe a little heavier, it probably would have been higher. But I don't fault the book for that. It just made it so that I enjoyed it, but it probably didn't stab me in the heart the way it potentially could have. In the number 6 spot, we have Queen of Blood. I already talked about my thoughts about it. I really liked it. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but those other ones just stuck with me a little bit more. I think this one has the potential to stick with me more once I read its sequels. After this, we have Spin the Dawn. You already know my thoughts on it. Next up, we have Slay, and this is a story that follows a girl who is a gamer, and she's a secret game developer in our time. A lot of the things that are going on in America right now are taking place in this story. I think that the author had a very interesting way of capturing so many different viewpoints by showing you little snippets of different people's points of view all over the world. And I thought that it was really interesting because we already have so many different point of views, of course, within our own country. But because we're talking about this online video game and there are people across the world who are engaged with it in some fashion, it was really interesting to see how different people's points of views can be based off of other places and the kinds of things that are going on in these other places and how they affect people. So I thought that element was great. I did like the descriptions about the game, and I really liked the family dynamic in this, because usually when you have contemporary books, which is what this was, the family dynamic sucks, and the family dynamic didn't suck in this book, which I really, really liked. The only reason that this isn't higher up, it's just similar to The Downstairs Girl, where it hit on some really heavy themes, but it did feel a little bit like, you know, you wrap a little bow on the end of something. It's a little bit nicer. In the number 9 spot, we have Girls of Paper and Fire, and this story follows a girl who is taken against her will and given to the leader of the land. She is chosen along with a handful of other girls, and they are all basically there for this ruler to pick who he wants when he wants. It's a very dark setup, and this one does really get dark at times. I think the author took a lot of care with it. The fantasy world seemed interesting, but in this particular story, it was on the shorter side, and I just felt like I wanted more. I wanted more of the fantasy world. I wanted more of the fantastical elements. I wanted more from the character, their feelings, and the other characters as well, because these are other girls in this situation with the main character. In the story, you also see a romance develop between the main character and one of the other girls, and I felt like even that was kind of sort of not built up as much as I wanted. Next up would be The Cyborg Tinker. We're still in territory of Elle did not dislike these books. I didn't dislike most of what I picked up, the bottom ones, but this one, we're still, even though it's ranking lower on this list, I didn't dislike this book. The only reason it's on the lower end is because it is not my genre. This book is action, adventure, steampunk, romance. And earlier when I was talking about Spin the Dawn and Unravel the Dusk and how it's a love story, it's a love story. It's not really a romance in that The romance in this one is like sexy time romance. After that, we had Forest of Souls. This is right before we get into the territory of did not like, because Forest of Souls is just did not feel. After that, we have King of Scars. We also already covered that one. The bottom two would be Dead House Gates and Rage of Dragons, and this is why I said before, I feel like some of you are gonna be like, what? You ranked that over this? Dead House Gates, Steven Erikson clearly is a super intelligent person. His use of vocabulary in the stories is amazing. I feel like when reading Malazan, both the first and the second, that's as far as I'm probably gonna go, but in reading those, I felt like I was reading about the history of a land. However, I don't want to read about the history of a land. I want to read about characters, and I want to read about their emotions, and I want to read about action scenes or intrigue, all those sorts of things. And Malazan, in my opinion, is all about, look at this world, it's huge. And Dead House Gates, while it did get a little bit more zoomed in with characters, I still felt like their motivations were more to serve the plot. Age of Dragons did make number one for least favorite because I hated the main character so much, but we already went over that. That's it for my ranking of all of the books that I got around to this last quarter. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.